Hello viewers, I'm SB and this is Mobius Front 83. This game comes to us from a company called Zachtronics, which I'm a big fan of. Zachtronics usually makes puzzle games, largely programming puzzle games, which is a thing I'm super into, and in my opinion, nobody does that thing better. So when I heard there was going to be a new Zachtronics game, I was very excited, that's like very much my stuff. And then I heard that it wasn't going to be a puzzle game, which dampened my excitement a bit. But it turns out it's a turn-based tactics game, which gets me excited again. That's also a thing that I'm really into. So this is a kind of a weird new direction for Zachtronics, and I'm excited to explore it, and I hope y'all are excited to come along. So I've played the very beginning of the game here. I've played like an hour and a half or so. We're just going to pick up right here. This is where the story really starts. Level 1 is just UI tutorial stuff. So the basic idea is we are, as it says here, the 3rd Platoon, Alpha Company, of the 194th Armored Brigade, are participating in a combined forces field training exercise when suddenly something happens. We're deployed several hundred miles north with no warning or explanation. It's an emergency, is all we know.
This is crazy. What the fuck is going on?
You keep acting like you're entitled to that information.
Ain't a drill, that's for damn sure. How many miles you think we've gone?
We're close.
By the way, I love Nathan Trucks as a name for a military character in a story.
Close to what?
I can feel it, man. Shit's gonna hit the fan.
Get a load of this guy. Fucker comes back from Nam, now he's some mystical war prophet. Let it go, man.
Ignore me and get killed if you want. I don't give a shit.
So far, all of the characters are just sort of like broad army movie pastiches. I don't know if the story stuff's going to get any more engaging than that. It kind of doesn't have to, right? That's not really what the thing's about. So in proper Zachtronic style, of course, there's a solitaire variant minigame, which we'll probably take a look at some point. And also, there are some PDFs. I'm going to have to work out a solution for showing these to you, but there are some like actual army manuals that kind of give you an idea of what the tech of the game is based on. Does it have the date in here anyway? It's sort of a vague, like, Cold War-y time, but I don't know if it says exactly what it is. Anyway, let's get in here to our first actual mission. So, in this game, at least as far as I'm aware, everything I've seen, victory on a map is achieved by capturing the control points from left to right. We have to do them in order. The enemy forces are trying to do the exact opposite. And so only some of the control points are actually in play at any time, right? Like if I own both of these and the enemy owns all 4 of those, the only 2 control points that can change hands are these 2. So flanking maneuvers are not useless, but of more limited value than they might be in a traditional war game. Alright, so we have 10 deployment points. We got some very basic units here. We got a tank and an APC that comes with a couple of rifle teams in it. As you'll see, this is not like a super complicated war simulation or anything. It's very board gamey. And if you play a lot of these games, we're just going to deploy 2 APCs and 2 tanks. We'll start on this capture point. That seems like a smart move to me. And then we'll deploy like a little further north. Obviously, I did this mission already, but I did it 2 days ago, and I don't remember what strategy I used, so we're just going to cobble together a new one. So if you play a lot of board gamey type war games, you're probably sort of loosely familiar with the idea that a lot of games that are set in the World War II or post-World War II period are like, they are either games that are about tanks or not. In a lot of games, tanks are like, by a large margin, the most powerful unit, and they're the thing that all combat is organized around. This is very much a game that is about tanks. So, each unit has a couple of abilities. For right now, the only thing that matters is we got 3 move speed. Let's just continue moving forward. As you can see, the control points get outlined in orange when the enemy team gets a hold of them. And it's pretty straightforward. Generally speaking, units cannot move and fire. You have to pick. But any fire ability that has this icon here indicates that you can do it after moving, but it does less damage if you've moved. So our machine gun does 1 to 2 damage normally, or exactly 1 if we moved before firing. You can see with the anti-tank round, it's a more considerable difference. I'm not a big fan, honestly, of the randomized damage. I sort of wish that combat was a little bit more deterministic, but it's fine. So hold on, let's have you move forward to here. So we can deploy our rifle teams, but they cannot deploy out of the vehicle after it has moved. So for the moment, we're just gonna keep everybody inside because infantry units can only move 1 space per turn. It's really, really slow. All right, so we have an enemy vehicle here. They have a 2 to 6 damage, 3 range anti-vehicle weapons. You can see to the left of the damage and range indicators, these targeting indicators. This can only be fired at ground vehicles. So this thing has literally no attack against infantry. There's no concept of like being able to run stuff over or anything like that in this game. So our infantry are definitely going to give us some advantages here. Also, vehicles cannot move through dense wood spaces, but infantry units can, so that's also significant. Also worth noting, this guy's anti-vehicle weapon cannot be fired after movement. So as long as we're careful, we don't necessarily have a lot to fear. And so the fact that most units cannot move and fire in the same turn definitely informs strategy in the game quite a lot, as you probably can imagine. So let's see. The tank can move and fire simultaneously, or move and fire in the same turn, but we want to be real cautious with it. So I think we're going to move this tank up to here, just outside of this guy's range. I'm going to have this tank move down as well. So spaces that look like this are like a road cut through the woods. In theory, an enemy vehicle could move through there, but the space still blocks line of sight. And I think we're going to aim to bring... Let's see, any unit can capture a capture point. It could be vehicles or infantry. I think I'm actually going to move this APC up here, and we're going to deploy some infantry units into the trees. Now, unfortunately, we have lost sight of that vehicle. Alright, so our rifle team has 2 range 1 weapons and only 1 speed. So, like I said, this is going to have a huge effect on our strategy. We can approach these vehicles pretty safely, but also very, very slowly. I'm just going to go full deployment here. We're going to have you move up to there. And then I'm debating whether I think it's safe to move the tank in here. Without having vision of the space, I'm a little leery of it. I think we're going to bring him around this way. Oh, hey. That's another one of those things. So our tank's anti-vehicle weapon has 4 range, while their Jeep's anti-vehicle weapon only has 3. And hey, we got lucky. That's actually really helpful. The fact that we managed to roll an actual kill there. Alright, so what's your deal? You do guaranteed 1 damage after moving, or 1 to 2 damage if you didn't have to move first. Well, so I'm debating, I think we're just going to shoot this thing with the tank. I would prefer to move my infantry forward instead of attacking if possible. Yeah, let's... And here, there are... Whoa, hey everyone, how's it going? Well, that changes my decision-making a little bit. How do we want to deal with that? So they have these anti-armor teams who just have a very basic gun and then an anti-tank rocket that's just a little bit better than ours. And then they have these normal rifle teams that don't have the rocket, but they do have 1 point more health. Because a lot of our anti-infantry weapons deal exactly 1 damage, it is a little tough to get through masses of infantry like this. Now, obviously, with the tank, you can pull some nonsense by just... I wish that line of sight worked a little bit differently. I wish I could shoot them from here. You can pull some nonsense like kiting enemies because they only move 1 space at a time. I mean, if I can't see that vehicle also can't see me, I'm sure. So we're just gonna have at this guy a little bit. But unfortunately, the APCs cannot move and fire simultaneously. So I'm debating just doing some deployment now or rolling the APC forward a little bit first. Am I allowed to shoot at this guy? No, okay. I was kind of hoping that maybe the fact that we could see him via other units would let us spot and just fire through the trees. I think I'm actually going to roll forward a space here before figuring out deployment, and then we need to figure out... Well, I mean, you're definitely moving to there. I think I'm just going to press forward, as dangerous as that is. And you... Well, I mean, you got to get into some kind of shooting position. So I really appreciate this. Like, the game tells you very explicitly, if you move here, you are definitely going to be within sight and targeting range of this unit. And obviously, that would be a pretty bad play. We would absolutely get blown up. So we can move around here to a sort of support position. This doesn't actually let us fire on anything, but it does let us open up if they move any closer. I'm not necessarily wild about that. So you might notice that some of our units, some of the units on the table have a little health point that has a hyphen across it. That's armor. That represents hit points that regenerate after every attack. So basically, whenever somebody shoots at the tank has 3 real health, and then 2 health, or 2 points of armor that just blunt 2 points of damage off each attack. Which means that vehicles are functionally immune to small arms fire. Which obviously has some pretty important implications. So you can open up... I'm trying to figure out, like, what do I think my focus is here? They have a lot of infantry teams back there, so we're definitely going to want to move the tank forward. And the question is, am I going to roll the dice on this thing? It does 2 to 6 damage, so it's not necessarily going to kill our tank if I fail to kill it. The loss of a tank is pretty harsh, though. Alright, let's start with... I think we kind of got to move in a little bit. I really hate the idea of having to move this rifle team. Like, I want to take control of the control point. And obviously I want to menace their vehicle with my rifles, but this is definitely ugly. And keep in mind, we don't have to kill these guys to win. We can just take over the control points. So there's some value in just, like, moving something tough onto the control point and surviving with it there. I mean, you can just shoot this guy, right? Oh, no, right. Units that are in trees are camouflaged, as you can see at the top of the card here, which means they can only be attacked by artillery or units that are adjacent to them. Infantry units fight just fine in trees because they already have to be adjacent to shoot at things, but it's a problem for vehicles. So, let's, I'm just gonna move forward and take the anti-tank shot here. Oh, they have another... Well, that's bad. Fortunately, line of sight prevents this guy and I from shooting at each other. Okay, we got unlucky, and that's gonna be a problem. So with a move and then fire, we have a 50% chance of killing an enemy vehicle. It's bad news, man. So I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna roll the tank forward to here. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then I'm going to move the... Oh, they do have an anti-vehicle team right there. I was going to say we'll move the APC up to capture the point because the APC is more likely to survive on the point. But sadly, that is it's probably not going to work. Alright, let's just start hacking through these guys. I mean, we kind of have to. It's slower than I would like, but I don't think we have a fast play. Right, you guys move forward, and then I'm going to deploy one of our teams to here to replace this rifle team that I think is about to get killed. And we'll deploy a team to here as well, and then I don't know that I am going to deploy the third team yet. We might end up moving this APC forward, and I might want them later. So, you can only capture one control point per turn. So I could not have moved the APC to here and then moved the tank to there and just like pushed super fast along the map. But I think I'm going to move this APC forward, even though I think there's a chance that it will get destroyed. Because if we do this, there's a pretty good chance it'll get destroyed. If we do this and then they don't destroy this APC and spend 1 unit's turn just moving it onto the space, then we actually do have a threat to just like run away. Let's see how they handle it. I like our positioning overall here. Okay, focus their fire. I think that's a smart move. It does mean that they don't get control of this. Ooh, and they got lucky on their anti-tank roll. So, you are going to do that thing I said and push around to the side, and we need to make it awkward for them to continue holding onto this space. So you're moving forward for sure. You are getting a kill. You are getting a kill. I think I'm actually just going to... I'm just going to shoot these guys. I'm not even going to move any of these units forward because the pressure's not on me, right? If they move this anti-tank team forward here, it's in a lot of danger. And if they don't get control of this space back. They could move the truck forward, but that's also really great for us. I think I'm pretty happy with this. The push and pull of the capture points. Yeah, they're afraid to make any moves. I like that a lot. That's very good for us. Alright, so that's unsafe to do. The question is, what is the right way to approach this? Because obviously we can move the tank forward. I think the right way to approach this is probably this. Move away from the enemy anti-tank team. Blow this up right now with a shot that is guaranteed to kill. I think it's very important to try to use shots that are guaranteed to kill. In a system like this, whenever possible, you want to assume that your damage rolls are going to hit the minimum value. Don't leave yourself in a position to be unpleasantly surprised, is my advice. So, I think I'm going to move... Because we're not actually taking this turn, I think my play is we move one of our teams onto this space, which puts us in a little bit of danger as far as taking damage. But all we need to do is hold this space until this one becomes captured, so this one is no longer in play. And I'm not sure if I want to move you. Is there... You can put a guy in the tank, but infantry units riding as passengers prevent this from firing its weapons. And then we could unload him next turn, basically. Like, move him in here, then deploy him over there. I think that's actually what I'm going to do. We'll embark, and then we'll disembark at the start of next turn, and then move the tank. And you are going to move to a position where you are not quite in sight of that truck over there. This is going to be tough pressure for them to deal with. Yep, they're going to get that shot. But they didn't really get anything done. I'm going to go ahead and deploy... Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to use these guys to take the space. I might actually... I am going to deploy these guys, but I'm going to deploy them this way. So they'll keep you busy. We don't exactly know what the situation is up ahead, which is definitely complicating. So we'll drop you guys off over here. And then we have a question of, like, move up and attack this thing versus just fire the guns. I'm not a big fan of just fire the guns. I think we can probably pull this rifle team back into the woods, because again, this control point is no longer in play. If they want to uncap stuff, they have to go here. And we can just kind of like abandon these guys, right? We don't have to stick around with them at all. So you should move first, because I think I want the tank to end up here. We can just sit on the next control point. I don't exactly know what's up ahead, which makes me a little nervous, but I'm going to get aggressive. Okay, turns out to have been bad. Turns out to have been a bad play. If our APC is still alive at the beginning of the next turn, it will instantly capture this point, but I don't know that I think that's super likely. Yeah, this thing has a 60% chance of landing a kill. I'm assuming that the damage values are linear probability distribution. I don't actually know that for a fact. That might not be safe. And then, since I think we're not going to fire the tank's weapons anyway, the tank is going to truck these guys forward. So this is, I think, an important concept of the game, an important principle of the game. You do not need to fight all of the enemies, you do not need to kill all of the enemies, and in fact, the enemy units are often just better than yours in a way that's like, if you're trying to play this as a game about exterminating enemy forces, I think you're going to be really frustrated. So, I'm gonna disembark these guys, or like, might be the case that the right play is just to move the tank to here, where it is 100% safe from enemy units for the moment, and then we'll just disembark those guys onto the control point next turn, and people just move forward. And as you can see, the AI seems to play it pretty safe. They try not to walk into traps, so you can use superior firepower to just deny space to them. Let's grab that, and that makes it even safer to do the forward march. I'm pretty sure we want to do this, and then I don't know what we want to do with the tank. At this point, the loss of our last tank would be pretty harsh. And you have actually no weapon, and you only do 1 damage. So I'm sort of thinking like maybe the play is we wait for the infantry to get forward a little bit. You know, one thing I'm realizing I don't know is whether you can deploy an infantry unit off of a vehicle on the same turn it gets on. I would assume you can't. We could roll the tank forward and use the smoke discharger, which gives us a little bit of damage reduction. And then next turn, like, roll forward to... Boy, there's nowhere that's actually safe, though, huh? Because we certainly don't want to endure attacks from 2 enemies. Even with the 2-point damage reduction, I think that's too risky. I think we're just going to leave it like this. Alright, let's get rid of you. Move you forward to here. Oh, hey! Enemy rifle team. Well, that's not great. And then... So you might be thinking, hey, it kind of seems like the enemy units are behaving a little bit strangely, like they don't seem to be super aggressive, or... I think to some degree this is part of the plot. You're going to find out in a minute here that something strange seems to be going on. So I think what I'm going to do is leave the tank right here. This guy is in some trouble for sure. But I'm going to leave the tank right here to be a threat to anybody who tries to come forward to this control point. We're going to come down here and burn down this vehicle with our infantry, and then we'll try some tactics after that. So we probably... Let's see, I definitely want to do this and this. So they're not going to get the kill in 1 turn, but they can make it so that we can... Next turn they can make it so that if the tank drives down here, it is guaranteed to get that kill. So I'm actually just going to have you guys... I'm going to have you guys move forward, you guys move back to here. I was going to menace this thing, but not at the cost of that unit's life. And then... Yeah, we'll just be very slow and careful here. Because it does feel, right, like the enemy has slightly superior units. So we bring you down around here and definitely kill this thing. And then all of a sudden we have this alternate route to just drive around to there, as long as we make it very, very difficult for the enemy to recap this control point. This is the only thing we care about right now. And I guess for this purpose, you don't really need to be standing on the control point. Yeah, you could be behind it, and it would be just as good. We just need to make the enemy not want to walk onto it. Turns out most people don't want to walk into machine gun fire. Can you imagine? And then while we're here, we may as well take a shot. Oh, that's right. Camouflage. I remember how game mechanics work. Who says I don't? So these early battles are a little bit simple, tactically. You know, a lot of the units that you're using are very straightforward. You guys may as well just jump on board. So the tank is certainly not shooting anybody this turn. Okay, and I think we've engineered a situation where they are very unlikely to want to come forward. They could recap the point, but again, because you can only cap 1 point per turn, doing so would almost certainly destroy the unit, and then we would just retake the point trivially anyway. And so a lot of this game is about managing your zones of control and setting up situations that are awkward to walk into while not walking into the enemy's awkward situations.
Sarge, we got Ivan over here.
Dead?
Looks live enough to me.
Now let me see him.
This is a good talk.
Yeah, fuck you too.
Radio, get someone to pick him up. We need to keep moving.
So yeah, as you can grasp from the fact that the enemy is
He looked American.
the enemy is immediately called Ivan. It tells you like where the soldier's headspace is at as far as likely opponents go.
We got sleeper agents here? Or Canada? Did Canada go red?
Private, let's go.
What did I tell you?
Don't talk to me, old man.
It is worth noting that Trucks did not tell them anything of value. He seems very sure of himself in a way that seems like quite unearned. Alright, this doesn't have a pre-story, it just has a tutorial. What was the tutorial here? Ah, the ruler, yeah. Look, that's 6 tiles. That seems like an functionality that I have not yet needed. Alright, so here, you see the enemy got to deploy 10 points worth of units at the beginning of the map. We only get to deploy 5. And then in a few turns, they'll get to deploy 5 more, and we'll get to deploy 10 more. And here we have an additional unit, a Jeep with an M60 on it, which is a 2-range thing that cannot attack after moving. And we have a new type of infantry unit that has a long-range anti-vehicle weapon, but it requires setup before you can use it. So we're just going to go... I mean, I see very little reason to do this as anything other than 2 APCs and a Jeep. Does the Jeep... Okay, the Jeep is fast. 4 points and 50% faster on roads. Let's deploy it like... I'm going to have the APCs be as far forward as possible, and we'll have the Jeep start on the deployment. Or on the deploy on the capture point. Alright, so this is going to be mostly about trying not to lose units for a minute until our superior reinforcements can show up. So let's get into position to deploy some stuff. This makes me a little nervous. I don't like not being able to see 2 tiles in front of me. But we can tell, you know, we know they aren't too far forward yet, because that capture point isn't even turned. So I don't know if it's going to be super safe for us to run out here. Obviously, if we can destroy a vehicle while there's still guys inside of it, then the guys do not get to come out, which would seem to be a pretty strong strategy, but I don't know that we're going to be able to pull that off. So do I feel comfortable moving you all the way forward to the point? I guess so. It puts the pressure on them to approach us, which is definitely a good thing. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. We're going to not deploy the other guys. So they have a proper tank of their own this time. And you can see it has 4 movement, and in most other ways is identical to our tanks. So a lot of their vehicles are just like our thing, but slightly better in one way, which is powerful. You know, that's a rough situation for us to be in. Alright, we're going to see if we can... Is it too aggressive to try to deploy one of those mortar teams up here? It might be. I'm going to go for it, but this might be bad. We're just going to try some stuff. You know, if we lose... It's not like the levels are terribly long. If we lose, we can just try again. There's no long-term campaign cost to having to do a mission again. Okay, the armor holds. That's less good. I'm a little caught off guard there. So remember, units that are deployed in trees can only be attacked by units that are adjacent to them. I definitely want to do this. That seems good. This is maybe too far back. We're going to go ahead and just play setup with this guy. So he is ready to fire his anti-vehicle weapon. We're probably just going to have the machine gun run away, right? So their tanks are a little bit less armored than our tanks, but 1 point of armor is still enough to negate basically all small arms fire. Their machine gun only does 1 damage whether they've moved or not, so I think one of my moves is going to be this. It makes it hard for him to move forward and also prevents him from being able to move adjacent to the weapon team. And then we're going to do kind of a similar thing here where we're just going to deploy infantry forward. How much damage do you do? Okay. I'm going to kind of forward deploy infantry with the intention of creating stopping blocks for the enemy. So this guy could roll forward and hit the weapons team once, and we will hope that he doesn't, because it would be real bad, but I don't really have another way of dealing with that. And then I think we probably have to fall back off of the control point, honestly. So our machine gun has a range of 3. I am, perhaps dangerously, going to deploy forward with this weapons team. We're going to have the APC fall back, I think, like to here. I don't want to be in range of the heat round, obviously. Especially not if they can. We don't want to be in a place where they can fire a heat round at us without having to move forward first, at the very least. But we would prefer to have their vehicles fighting our infantry. The vehicles are superior to infantry, but they're also pretty slow at wiping them out. And then I'm gonna have. I think I might have the Jeep go around the backside here and try to make their flank unsafe. We got 2 turns until we get to buy 10 more points of units. So basically, any victory we could get in that time would be great, but we may be mostly in defense mode for the moment. Alright, so setup time for sure. Setup time for sure. You guys can use your anti-tank rocket and do some damage. You know, we're guaranteed to get at least 1 real point of damage out here. Hey, I feel pretty good about that. That's alright. So let's run you around the back. Do I want to go all the way up to here? I think I do. I'm pretty sure it's safe. It was not really safe. In fact, this guy's probably dead. That's a bummer. It's not a big deal, but it's not great. Alright, you get to... Nope, you don't, right? Camouflage. I'm debating whether I want these guys to move forward to threaten their teams. I want to try to make it... I want to make them feel unsafe approaching my anti-armor team, right? But maybe what I do is I just sit perfectly still. Like, this guy can only shoot at 1 of our units. I think I'm going to move forward with this guy. So now he's got a decision to make, and that means that he's not really too much of a threat to this team, because he's got to focus his stuff on those guys instead. And we've got the anti-vehicle team up. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave these dudes right where they are. And in fact, that may be the case for a bunch of us. You are defending the control point. The anti-tank weapon, once set up, has a range of 3, so they can't even really approach. And I might leave the APCs back just to make sure that we have more armored stuff to approach with later. I do not want to get my vehicles blown up. You do have 4 range on that. I'm going to move him... No, I'm not. Nope, we're good. I'm going to leave him. Just leave him there. I'm going to deploy the weapons, the riflemen now. I don't think the tank is going to shoot those guys, because it's going to shoot these guys. Alright, let's just do that. So they get 5 points of units, but their 5 points of units have to come in over here. And then we get 10 points of units much closer to the conflict. Yep. We knew that was going to happen. They are now panicking a little bit on account of the weapons team, so that's good news for us. You guys should be able to just kill him. You guys may be able to kill him. But if you don't... Okay. If they didn't, we had this to back up. Let's do the same thing... Well, hold on, actually. Here we should lead with this. Because if we successfully destroy that tank, now we probably just want to move these guys forward, right? Yeah, I think so. So we know that they have an anti-vehicle car over there, but I think at this point it is totally safe for us to just roll forward. Right, the 1 point of armor on the APC makes it basically immune to those guys. I should have probably put this dude back in the truck before moving it forward, but I think you guys can leave your setup. We are probably... It's probably actually true for these guys too, that we can roll them forward. Yeah, this is going pretty well. And we have 10 points of deployables coming in, and now we're allowed to use tanks. So obviously, I want to get 2 tanks coming in, and then the question is 2 APCs versus tank and jeep. I think the answer is tank and jeep. And 2 APCs is a lot of extra boots, but actually we've done a pretty good job of keeping our infantry alive. We have a lot of manpower. I think I'm going to go for more tanks. I really enjoyed the tank. I think we have enough guys on foot already. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do. Okay, run away. That's a reasonable answer. Now, unfortunately, you cannot use the M47 Dragon ATGM against infantry units. So we're just gonna have to do these guys in rifle-to-rifle combat. We probably don't want to roll forward on that control point just yet, at least not with a vehicle. We can advance with infantry pretty safely. Let's move you guys forward. Do I want to set up here? I think I'm going to set up just to make it unsafe for that thing to approach too much before deploying. We got a lot of tanks coming in. Let's get these tanks forward. And, like I said, we probably ought to do this. These guys can jump on that tank next turn. So, what do I want to do with you? We gotta be careful, because we want to move forward quickly. I think we're going to here. Because obviously it would be real bad for this vehicle to get destroyed with a full health infantry unit inside of it. But we are not very threatened like this. And then the question is, do these guys maintain, or do they want to move? I think I want to leave them right here. To some extent, they may function as a lure. Enemies may want to come forward and try to kill the 1 health anti-tank unit, which would be great for us. And they just don't have anywhere to go that's actually valuable. Okay, mostly the enemy seems terrified, which is good news for us. So let's do... I think I want to do this with this guy instead of with the car. We definitely want to roll this unit forward. Unfortunately, this weapon cannot be fired through a tree. It's not like a mortar, it is a direct fire weapon. So if we want it to be a threat to this truck, we do have to move up in a way that's kind of a bummer. I'm gonna have this Jeep do this thing. We're gonna try to drop these guys off into this space. And aside from that, we're gonna roll the tanks forward. This is going... We are very close here to the enemy just being in a really, really rough position. Do I actually want to just put you up on that tank? No, I don't think so. Do we just want to shoot? I think I just want to do damage. I'm not in a huge hurry to advance. We have a pretty huge advantage in a lot of ways here. And now I'm less leery of this truck because we have the advantage of... Yeah, this is aggressive, but I'm gonna do it. We have the advantage of the tanks coming up behind us, so if that truck rolls up or even just deploys here, we're not really in any danger. Interesting. Alright, they did pull 1 tank with their reinforcements. That's not a big deal. I'm not too worried about that. So we want to capture this with an infantry unit. because the only thing they can do about this is spend the tank's attack to kill it. Nothing else they have can hit infantry units and also is actually close enough to do the thing. Trucks are unarmored, so the Jeep is actually a danger to it. Gosh, I wish I could see these spaces. I'd feel so much more comfortable about moving this guy forward to here to start threatening this way if I knew for sure that there weren't rifle teams waiting in the trees. Alright, I'm going to drive the tank around, or the Jeep around. Cannot actually get vision of these spaces. Damn forest cover out here is just so heavy. Alright, we can definitely just advance you. If those guys want to stand and fight, that's like Christmas morning for me. You are in a position where you will be killed if that tank shoots at you. And as such, I'm going to leave you there, because it would actually be pretty okay for us if the tank did that instead of shooting at this guy. You, I think, are just going to set up right here in the open. And I think these guys are going to prep to do the same thing. Well, hold on. I probably actually do want to move this guy, because the tanks need this space to move into. So I'm going to move to here. Now I'm a threat against a bunch of the infantry, and we'll see how they handle that. My guess is they're going to use the tank to blow that up. Who knows? Maybe we'll get really lucky here and we'll just get the 4. Oof. 1 damage is no damage, it turns out. You are going to get on the back of this thing for the turn. And I'm pretty sure that we want to put this team on the back of one of these tanks. I'm not sure which one. It won't be safe to offload them here necessarily. I'm going to do this for now. And I'm pretty leery of moving forward. I think we want to keep these guys here because it keeps those guys safe. And whether or not it's safe to move up is a thing that we just can't determine this turn. So, we'll take it slow. Again, I think time is on our side here. Attrition, I should say, is on our side. Okay, they're actually retreating northward, which is really good news for us. Oh, they have move and shoot Jeeps. Wow, that was unlucky. Their vehicles mostly cannot do that kind of damage. Like that was only a 40% chance that they'd be able to do that much damage in a single hit, so that's bad luck for us. You stepped forward a little bit aggressively, in my opinion. Alright, I was ready to have to fire a second shot at that thing, but I'm really glad I didn't have to. Alright, so we are definitely going to deploy these guys forward now that that infantry unit moved back. And then I think I'm going to do the same thing here. Yeah. And I don't think we move the Jeep yet. I think we leave it right here. It's an escape route for this for this anti-armor team for the moment. And then do we just... We can try to just blitz that thing. We can also try to just shoot at this thing because we can outrange it. But I sort of think... I think rolling both of these tanks forward and shooting at their tank is the play. Alright, so unfortunately... There is a chance that this will not result in a kill. Alright, we didn't get that unlucky. Obviously, I would prefer not to have been reliant on the chance there, but a tank is dangerous, man. You're never totally safe with an enemy tank around. And that's anti-vehicle? Yeah. Alright, so now that things have worked out the way they've worked out, it's like incredibly safe for this to roll forward. These guys... I don't really know what I want to do with them. I think I'm just going to leave them. I know they haven't really gotten anything accomplished, but even though they haven't fired their weapon, their position has been important because it's controlling the way that the enemy prioritizes space. I think they've done useful stuff for us here. Alright. That is just raw fear right there. So you have a clear shot and you should take it. And that means that our priorities in this area change a little bit. Had that not been a kill, had that been minimum damage, obviously it would have meant some slightly different things for us. I do believe that we want to disembark you guys and take this shot. And they're in a real rough position as far as preventing me from just, actually, I'm going to embark you guys here, because we're going to do that. They're in a real rough position as far as preventing me from just running infantry units over to that space. They don't really have a good way of covering that advance. I guess you just walk forward? And, like, honestly, get back in the Jeep and we drive away? We don't want to drive forward, I don't think, but I don't think we need to be holding this position anymore. Well, if we drive forward, this is oh, that is an anti-armor team. Yeah. I was going to say, I would be willing to end the turn adjacent to one rifle team, but we're going to change things up a little bit here. And yeah, it's no longer valuable for us to hold this space, so I think let's just keep moving. But like, basically, they need to move... Okay. Cowardice is not a good play for them right now. They need to move some anti-infantry teams up, because otherwise... Well, at this point, it's literally impossible for them to stop us. I think we deploy that forward next turn, and we've got it. Let's go ahead and move you up, and then I'm actually just going to end turn, because we don't... The rest of this stuff is irrelevant. Oh, now they're starting to feel aggressive. Feels like it might be a little bit late. So because of the way that the reinforcement systems work, the fact that they're not always even, sometimes you get some situations where your strategic play is a little bit different from situation to situation. You definitely don't want to just be doing the same thing over and over again. Oh, sorry, there was post-story on that one, though.
Smoke? I do, sir, but I don't need one now.
First time I've been called sir by an EPW. So you know why we're here.
I do, sir.
Might as well make this easy on both of us then. Your ID is obviously fake. So, where do you really come from?
My ID is real, sir. I'm First Lieutenant Nick Stroh, and I'm from the United States of America. Just like you.
Slowly but surely, we're gonna get to that plot. All right, so we are continuing to push back. In this one, the tutorial that we just skipped is about helicopters. So now we've got access to helicopters. They're super fast. They have a machine gun that can only be fired while they're landed, and they have to be landed for units to get on and off of them. But you know, speed's worth a lot. So I don't exactly know what our play is here. So you can see the helicopter can deploy really far forward, and it can move in real quick. They were able to deploy far enough forward to get that. And so I'm looking at this bottleneck here, right? These control points are probably approximately where we're going to meet and start fighting. And the helicopter does carry an anti-armor team. So there's a couple of different ways we could try to go with this. We could try to just play way forward, have the helicopter drop off the anti-armor team in the woods over here to give it a little bit of cover from vehicles, and then and try to hold that, and this anti-armor team would then be able to control all the space around this point. Or we could try to set up on the other side of the river here, because we do have just enough distance to fire across with the anti-tank weapons. The downside of that being that the anti-tank weapons can just fire right back in that case. So I think I'm going to try this. This is not what I did when I completed the mission off camera. Yeah, let's do this, and then we have one more point left, and so we got to make a decision here about a heavy machine gun Jeep versus a Jeep that has an anti-tank weapon in it. And I think we want to go this way. I'm actually not sure. So the Jeep itself is pretty much the same, but this one has a slightly different gun in it. You can see it can fire after moving, and it does 1 to 2 damage. Whereas this one is the standard firing instead of moving. And you can pull the team off of this one to turn it into an infantry unit and just leave an empty Jeep behind. I think let's try it like this. So that deployment lets us get the Jeep to here to capture this on the second turn, We'll put down the helicopter right there and start unloading people. I don't know if this is actually going to be fast enough to get the job done before the enemies show up. And I don't know if you noticed, but they deployed all 15 points of their units during Phase 1. So we are definitely overmatched at the beginning, which means that it may well be just super wrong to try this really aggressive deployment. It's probably the case that... It is 100% for certain the case that we are safer playing back. However, we're gonna try something here. So I'm gonna put the Jeep or the helicopter down right here. Like, the question is, do we put down here and deploy anti-tank weapon, infantry on the control point, and I don't know where the other infantry guy goes, or do we put down here, go anti-tank weapon with the helicopter protecting it, guy goes here, and then we deploy another guy forward? Because this gives us a little bit more reach on approaching enemies with the helicopter's machine gun, which has 2 range. I think we're going to try it like this. Now, we can't land the thing until next turn, because it can't fly and land, but it can land and deploy in the same turn. It can drop the guys off next turn. Alright, so that's an APC that's quite similar to ours. This is a real scary tank here. 1, 2, 3. So they're going to shoot the helicopter next turn. But that was true if I put it down here as well. Alright, well, everybody ought to get out then. You know, they won't necessarily kill it. It's a 50-50. So I'm going to deploy you here. And then, like, we want to prevent enemy vehicles from getting adjacent to the anti-armor team. So I'm going to deploy these guys forward like this. Basically, we're probably going to want to pick the helicopter up and move it next turn, and the infantry team that we deploy here is probably going to end up in this space, provided the helicopter doesn't die. So I guess, in a sense, it doesn't much matter how we do this. And they're slightly safer in the trees. Reinforcements show up in 3 turns. Okay, interesting. They're going to try some flanking stuff. Okay, not what I was expecting. Ah, because they have another tank. They made a different move because they have resources we did not understand. Alright, so I think we are going to just have... Yeah, the machine gun on the helicopter is guaranteed to only do 1 damage no matter what, which is to say 0 damage no matter what. So we're definitely going to move you guys out. I think we're going to move... It's probably wrong to go after the control point, right? I mean, it's definitely wrong to go after the control point with the Jeep. I have no doubt of that. It will just get heat rounded. But I wonder if it's right to move these guys forward. My biggest concern there, obviously, is that the enemy would then drive a vehicle up to here. You guys can't fire after moving. I suppose there is some value in doing that, in that it provokes the enemy to move their tank forward. And the enemy already has range on us with all of their stuff. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do that. We're gonna move the helicopter somewhere. I don't know where. We're gonna move the helicopter to a spot where... Oh, we can't just hover over the forest. Inconvenient. What I want to do is move to a spot where I can see the rest of the enemy units, right? But also, we can trivially be shot down. I'm gonna go to, like, here. This will give us pretty good vision over stuff, and they have to drive out of their way to attack us. So if I move you guys forward to here, enticing the enemy tank to drive up and try to shoot this guy, that makes it easier for this guy to take his shot. And then we move this unit to here to prevent them getting 2 things adjacent to the anti-armor team. But honestly, this is pretty dangerous. No matter how we do this, this is pretty damn dangerous. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get real aggressive here. And then how do we want to set up our other anti-tank unit? Do we want to go here, which would allow us to fire at these two spaces, or do we want to set up here, which gives us more reach but also considerably more vulnerability? Because any space we can shoot at, we can also be shot at from. That's a tough one. I guess it's one we don't have to... It's a choice we don't have to make this turn, necessarily. I think it might be a good idea to detach this unit. So I think we're actually going to have an easier time surviving. Does the... It doesn't say on it how much health they have. But I think right now a vehicle is less survivable than an infantry team is. The heat rounds are real scary. Well, they have two anti-vehicle teams in that APC. Same deal there. So yeah, this is definitely like an infantry privileged environment. Alright, let's do it. Let's try the detach. Let's see how this works. Okay, so it is a 2 health unit that requires setup. That's a little awkward. That's not great. So I think we're gonna roll you forward to here and then probably deploy out next turn. I would love to do some actual vehicle damage here. Alright, they're deploying heavy, not a big surprise. Also not a big surprise. That I'm a little... Ooh. I didn't do the math on the movement and fire distance there. That's not great. Well, fingers crossed on the destruction of this tank. Okay, lucky me. You guys are probably just dead no matter what we do. Boy. I am now concerned about this. Getting in this Jeep's not going to help anything. Yeah, just dig in, get ready, and... I mean, does taking 1 health off these guys even help? I think not. I think the play here is move back into the trees. Make them have to approach us before they can do any damage and try to get the anti-armor team another kill if possible. So they have a lot of stuff, and I'm very scared. But the fact that they lost a tank, I think, helps a lot. And we're about to be able to buy a whole bunch of units. Boy, what do I want to do with the chopper? I don't. It doesn't seem like there's anything to do with it, right? It seems like it's going to be bad no matter where we put it. You have 3 range, so even if I set up over here to try to shoot at the choke point, this guy would just move to there and then deal 1 damage to me. I'm gonna retreat, like hard retreat, because if we stay over there, this tank can very easily just kill us on the way over to fight the other guys. There's not even a cost associated with that, and we can't move you because you're unmanned. So good luck, me. Fortunately, they only have the tanks as far as units that can move and fire in the same turn. Are they going to go for the approach? Okay. They did not really go for the approach. And like I said, this is a direct fire weapon, so we can't shoot this guy even though he's in range. Alright, let's talk about deployment. Let's definitely get 2 tanks. Without question, we are taking 2 tanks. And then the question is, do we think it's better to take a 3rd tank than a whole bunch of infantry? Because we certainly have we've found ourselves in a situation where we are short on men on the ground. That said, the enemy force here is pretty biased toward infantry. Like they have 2 tanks left, but if we got rid of those tanks, they would have basically no way of dealing with a vehicle. Even these anti-vehicle teams are just going to get gunned down at range by tanks. So I think we're going to take another tank. And then I'm going to get another one of these Jeeps, and we're just going to be careful. And you guys are doomed? Probably. We could step back one space, and the tank would have to roll forward to shoot at us, I guess. We'd go back to the bushes while we wait for help. Yeah, I don't love it, but I think that's probably right. And you're just kind of keeping watch over the middle area. I don't know if that you do anything. I guess what we could do is move you... Well, if I move you over here, you're just going to get blown up. 1, 2, 3, 4... Actually, you are... Back up a little bit more, even. You're not actually safe. Okay, that might be too aggressive. I get that he wants the control point, but that might have been an error. And it looks like they're just going to let me stay in control of this. As long as they don't move any vehicles through that area, it doesn't, you know, they're not actually disadvantaged. Oh, interesting. The helicopter prevents land units from entering its space. I'm a little surprised by that. So... Yeah, make for here, draw them back. And the question is, like, do we want to... So you're going to move to here. Do we want to roll up and take the weak shot, or do we stay back and let them come to us so that they have to take the moving shot and we get to take the stationary shot? I'm pretty sure the answer is we want that stationary shot. Which means that, yeah, we're going to have some units play pretty far back here. It turns out that aggressive strategy was a bad idea. I played more defensively the first time I did this because, you know, doesn't that seem like a good idea? No, I definitely find myself wishing I had done it here as well. So I don't really want to move the Jeep into a place where... I'm just going to move it forward a little. I don't want to move it into a place where it doesn't have tank support, right? So we're going to do this. They can't beat us, really. Any unit they move into here is going to take 2 damage immediately, but a unit moved here could be a real danger. If we move these guys over to here, there's no way we'll be able to get a shot off. Because we'll move, then they'll move, then we'll set up, then they'll move, then I could fire. So I think I'm just going to leave those guys stranded in the position we stranded them in. And rely on our superior tank numbers to do the thing here. Okay, that was not a great play on their part. They probably should have just taken the kill on these guys. So, obviously we open with this. Wow, that was lucky. And then we aggress. And I think they're going to find it very, very difficult to approach now. We have a really superior position. They have just 1 tank left, and we should probably try to go find it, although obviously any time I expose the helicopter, it might instantly die. It's up here somewhere. But I think once we take that out, they're going to have a very hard time interacting with us. And I think I actually am going to move this guy over. Now that this went as well as it did, I think our concerns have changed a little bit. So I'm kind of curious if they'll bring the tank back to try to hunt the helicopter or not. Probably not, right? I don't think it would be a good idea. Yeah, I think they're starting to realize what it means for me to have tanks and for them not to have tanks on this front. It's bad news, man. So you can be moved to... We don't want to let the APC shoot at our Jeep if we don't have to let it shoot at our Jeep. So let's, like, move you up to here. I would love to kill this APC if we can. Didn't even break the armor. That's a shame. You have 3 range, so I actually want to keep you right where you are. And... there we go. They're going to have a real hard time with that. And then honestly, a lot of this stuff over here is going pretty well. I'm going to move the helicopter back so it can't get shot by that thing. But yeah, the fact that they can't move and shoot is going to be a real problem for them. They have functionally no way to retake this control point at this point. This play around the other bridge was very focused on being able to attack these two. And if they can't get us off of this one, they have to try to like fall back and do some choke point nonsense. But it's not going to work because again we have the vastly superior armament here. So how do we want to move people? Because I definitely want the tanks moving forward as much as possible. Alright, let's start with this. Yeah, I think we just get real aggressive here. Now, I don't want to end the turn by putting a tank adjacent to an anti-weapons team, obviously. There's a limit to how aggressive it is okay to be. Do I want to just shoot at you instead? Yeah, I think I do that instead of going for the damage on the weapons team. And then you can roll all the way up and start hammering these dudes. And we're getting close to the point where me having bodies in the woods over here is going to matter again. And in fact, once the APCs are a little bit more out of the picture, we can use the fact that the helicopter's machine gun has 2 range to pressure the enemy as well. So my guess is, if they don't turn around and refortify this position, we're going to end up in control of this on our next turn, and that's going to make it very hard for them to get back in the game. Continuing to run will keep your units alive, but it will not help you in a strategic sense. Okay, really, really good news for us. Just basically all the way around. So, question. What is the appropriate position for our units now? We have to be more careful because they have an anti-tank unit in trees. This is a place where our we might even want to consider disconnecting these guys. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have the helicopter come back and pick up the other machine gun squad. So we can embark them next turn. For right now, they're just going to stay put and keep these guys away from this control point that we haven't yet claimed. I mean, I definitely want to be moving forward, though. So these guys literally can't do damage to us. Yeah, their guns are too small and weak. I think I'm gonna chase the APC here. Wow, that was extremely lucky. That was maximum damage. Alright, and that makes it safe for us to roll up and do this. And that means these guys are coming out of the woods. And I'm wondering if we keep these guys exactly where they are because they make it awkward for the enemy to redistribute. Like they can't really come up behind us because we'll just blow them up along the shore. I think we're going to keep those guys exactly where they are. And roll you up and shoot at him. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of a sense of what I was talking about when I said this game is about tanks. This game is very much like about tank movement and tank positioning. You guys get down. Keeping the helicopter alive may well turn out to have been important. So how do we want to deal with this? It's very difficult for us to have the tanks just take this over. They do 2 to 5 damage, so it is possible for them to roll high enough to just kill a tank straight up. Be a little bit cautious here. So we definitely want you... We need to get the rifle teams adjacent to this thing. I think we're going to have this tank move up to clear space. Just kill these guys real fast, very easily with these vehicles. Okay, they have another team down there. And then what is going to be the fastest way to do this is the question. So we need to get these guys and this gun team adjacent without... I think we detach now. We want to get that gun team adjacent, and we do not want them... I can't move them onto the Jeep. That's a shame. And I think at this point these guys start moving forward too. We're no longer worried about enemies flanking around behind us, because we're going to have control at this point pretty soon. Ooh, this is a level of cowardice I'm not sure is good for your health. So, I mean, one thing that we can do is just ignore them, of course. It's pretty dangerous for us to put a vehicle on this space, but we can obviously deploy machine guns onto the space, and even if our machine gun team dies after they take it, we're still fine because the enemy can't reclaim the thing. So we're going to do some of this, and I do believe these guys are doomed. Because it's not good enough for them to clear the space. They have to actually reclaim it. Okay, well that's just bad play all the way around. I don't know what the hell they're doing now. I think they gave up. So just land, disembark. You guys just keep your machine guns sort of generally pointed at the trees. Okay, we win at the beginning of our turn if they don't do something. If they don't do something that's actually impossible for them to do. We didn't end up even having to fight the other tank for reasons that I'm not 100% clear on. I don't know, it got confused trying to execute a flanking maneuver, and then at some point it realized that the mission was lost, and so it just drove off. It was like, screw this, I'm going to McDonald's.
Hey, you guys seeing what I'm seeing here?
Too many questions, Grail. Yeah, those are U.S. Army. They're using our own equipment against us.
Attack from the inside. Always knew it was gonna go this way. The Russians got cells in every city.
We put our guys in Germany and now they pop up here. Middle of the country. God damn it. How did we let this happen?
Don't know, don't care. As long as I can shoot more Ivans, I'm good.
Not sure that's what we're doing, boss.
Yeah, it does seem unlikely. Alright, so I think this is where we're going to call it for this episode. Hopefully that was a good sort of introduction to what the game is. The intention with this series is that there will be another hour or so of gameplay every weekday, but since this is starting so late in the week, we're definitely going to do episodes over this coming weekend. When you come back next time, tomorrow, you are going to see some missions that I am seeing for the first time, and hopefully the facade of me being any good at this game at all is not going to come crashing down. And we'll see you then.